Alright, welcome everybody to a lovely Saturday afternoon. We've got our first Division 5 match of Season 3 lining up here. Alecat will be joining me on the commentary for this one.
I'll be intermittently here, but available now and then. And this is going to be our first match that we've been involved in streaming where we're looking at the lower division maps.
Yeah, of course, it was a new thing this season. Previously, we had the same map list across every division from top to bottom, but due to some of the feedback we got at the end of Season 2, we considered, we thought we'd try something a little different. So, in the future weeks, all of the lower division map lists are going to be based on the maps that the higher division played the previous week. Of course, since this is, since there was no previous week in this case, this is week 1, we have decided to simply allow things to go around in a loop. So this can act to some of the high div teams, if they want to tune in and watch, as a bit of a preview of what they might expect to see in week 6.
Yeah, and of course, Harold Holt Centre already, we're having a bit of a chat about their long name.
Yes.
And they are, as was mentioned, they're basically the Spat Factory back with a new coat of paint, as you were saying.
So yes, for the since everyone wants it, we are seeing a match between Nameless and the Harold Holt Centre for Squids and Octolings who can't swim good and who want to learn to do other stuff good too. We have been given their explicit permission to say that the Harold Holt Centre is an adequate rendering of their name.
Yeah. So, I think this is one of the very few times where we'll make an exception for such a extravagant team name.
They certainly, as it goes, if people are willing, if they can make you laugh, they can get away with a lot more than they might otherwise.
It's true. If it's all
They've struck the right
good-natured
chord.
and but this is not a precedent for the future, and we are about to head into game. So let's have a quick talk about Slutzone's Manta Maria, Nameless, and Harold Holt Centre will be, fighting the first match, demonstrating to. I don't know how many other teams are yet to play their lower div matches on these maps yet.
We've had a fair few still yet to play. I believe some of the Div 4 matches have already happened. I think Decoding versus Part-Time Pirates were very, very quick. They got theirs on... They got theirs ready back on Wednesday night. But otherwise, I think this is the first. All the other matches we've seen so far have been Div 1, 2, or 3. But we do have more coming. So I believe Catastrophe versus Prismatic are also playing right now. Goizord's doing us a favour and getting us some vision of that. So hopefully we'll get a lovely recording that can get restreamed at a later date. And this evening, we've also got X-Garbage versus Hikari starting about an hour from now. I guess depending on how our timetable goes, we might jump in and catch them on stream as well. But, there's certainly, I don't think they ought to wait around if this one stretches on. We'll see how it goes. And then, of course, later tonight, we've got, it looks like Midnight Turfers are taking on Peer Pressure. That will be that'll be an interesting one. First Div 6 match of the week. And we've also got Jim's All Purpose Turfing and Egg Collecting, the other very long name, against Thank Judd It's Friday. Anyway, here we go. We've got Splat Zones on Manta. It's a very interesting map. We've got so much mobility around those two zones up high.
And we do see some interesting weapon picks coming out here. I'm liking the look actually of this Blob Lobber with the rain support coming in. And actually, I believe Harold Holt Centre brought a ton of objects for
Yes, I think that's what wow, yeah, three of their players. Note also they're running a ton of range. All but one of their weapons.
Yeah, so really interesting special pick for this map. We're looking at a 2-zone map, so having that special support to bring the rain in might work for them.
Meanwhile, it's a good start early for Nameless. They've managed to play in the middle and pick off Harold Holt Centre quite effectively. Gladius gets a nice little snipe on the grips. Yeah. JJ goes in skirmishing and wow, yeah.
Waller moving in, so Harold Holt Centre down 3 players and Nameless in a good position. Maybe, I think that was a pseudo wipe.
Yes, it was. The last player up on Harold Holt Centre did make some pretty good use out of their sacrifice, though. They did set the zone neutral and bought their team a bit of time to get back in.
So Harold Holt Centre right now having a lot of trouble breaking in, and this is going to be the trick. Unfortunately, we did see them hit sort of that time where they should start approaching all, together, which is good. As a team, they came in together, but they weren't able to use that to their advantage to distract the other team and to create the openings that they needed. Right now, this approach has done a little bit better. They've taken 1 zone.
With 20 ticks left, there's not much time if there's a clean recap. So Holt Centre at this point, absolutely, even if they can't hold the cap, they want to be able to put the penalty.
Yeah, so really needing to get a penalty on, and the specials starting to come out from Nameless, they're going to give them trouble. Capping now is a priority. They must. There we go. So they're briefly for now. They don't have to sweat quite as much about a 20-tick cap from Nameless.
Yeah, they can afford to just wait for their teammates to come back in and see if they're able to give them a bit of taste of their own medicine. Team up, take them on, with, one at a time when they've got a whole team. Okay, so it looks like we've got some skirmishes out there on that platform. Evil there almost gets away with a very cheeky punish on the missiles, but does get stopped by Hand. Moving forward here to get to the zones again. So at this point, Nameless still pretty confident. They've got plenty of time before their score is beaten, and in fact, there we go. There's the recap. But the Holt Center have, at the very least, they've stopped that complete lockout. They've shown that they can do it once, and, you know, now it's probably going to be a bit easier to do it a second time.
Yeah. So we're seeing some interesting position here. Panda trying to flank, unfortunately falling in. I think what happened there, the problem was the plan was originally maybe she would go to bunker. Charger spotted her, she had to move. So sometimes under pressure it's not hard to finish the plan.
Yeah, obviously anything when you get under that much fire, it's very easy to make these smaller.
And now our Holt Center really need to get Cat. They are in exactly the same position they were before, except now Nameless with an extra 8 ticks. But
there we go, they've done it. That double rain and all the splats they needed. JJ lurking on Harold Holt's platform there with a ball already, but just gets completely wrong-footed by Panda and gets stopped before they can even activate. Neo here now, though, moves onto the zone with that Kent's undercover umbrella. So difficult to punish and so difficult to force into a bad position. Evil capitalizing on that with the carbon roller, but it looks like Harold Holt Center is perhaps wised up a bit. They're not quite as willing to play Nameless yet. Chef does get caught out by that baller explosion on the point though. At this stage it's all on Murex to keep these things live. And unfortunately that's what happens when you're all by yourself. Still, that fresh penalty was inflicted. We've got a minute left on the clock. So at this point we're not going to see an ending on time unless Harold Holt Center are able to break their way back in. Yeah,
this is quite a difficult situation, and we're seeing a lot of green on the map, which is making it harder for their
Very, very tricky there. They're now, they've got serious objective time working against them. Evil there, not able to get a pick this time. That carbon roller sharking had proven deadly in the past, but it's not paying off this time. But now Panda's left all alone on Harold Holt Center's side. We do have teammates jumping in and just get that quick missile volley out. Does manage to cap the zone, in fact.
Wow!
I feel that was a bit of an unforced error on part of the Nameless players who were targeted there. They could have let those missiles land anywhere, but they all dropped onto the zone.
Unfortunately, with 10 seconds left, it is back in Panda's hands to get this cap. Does manage to take out the charger.
We do get the recap, but JJ's ball is going to make it very tricky.
This is a critical period here, so if they can get Nameless wrong-footed and maybe panicking over the zones, they might have the chance. So we're seeing most of the splits go down, and it was so close!
So close!
So close
Ham
to
did
cap.
everything right, got one, put so much ink on the point, and it just didn't quite get that capture. We did see at about 5 seconds before regulation time finished, Panda's missiles, unfortunately, getting blocked by the mast. They would have been landing right on the zone.
I didn't notice. Yeah, I saw the missiles go out, and I thought for sure that would help. But...
So that must be a frustrating way to go down. I've seen teams under the kind of pressure Nameless were under there just throw away an advantage in zones and just get destroyed going in, thinking that they can stop the overtake earlier than they need to.
Yeah, and based on the pace of that game, that really was Harold Holt Center's only opportunity. And I think we'll take this countdown as a chance to maybe just discuss that. Most of the game, it was Nameless that had the opportunity, had the turf,
definitely,
controlled the way that Harold Holt came in, and it was only those times where they were able to upset Nameless with just an unexpected cap or taking out. And if they'd been able to take that momentum swing into overtime, that was pretty much their only opportunity, and they needed to set up for that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. We're heading into Game 2, Tower Control, with Nameless on the advantage, 1-up.
Of course, that's getting put into that situation where you're facing off against. I think your score might need a bit of.
Might need to fix it.
Oh, I see. That's points achieved,
That's
not
points.
points.
That's 91.
Yeah. No, I'm too used to seeing it.
Sorry, we take what
Don't
Doug
mind
says
me.
at the end.
Yep. But yeah, of course. Given how it became so frantic at the end there, it really had opened up to be anyone's game. all it would have taken was, just that tiny more little bit of ink on the point. We would have seen a proper overtime happen. Nameless could very much still have, succeeded in breaking back in, getting that cap, or at least keeping it neutral long enough for it to time out. But it didn't even come to that. So, well played to them for being on the front foot for so long in that game. The fact that the Harold Holt Center were only really able to get serious distance on the scoreboard in that last scramble at the end where Nameless were getting a bit frayed is a testament to, how much they'd set the pace of the game up until then. Alright, well, we're seeing what looks like some change and not change. So Nameless look like they're running identical weapon loadout. Splat Factory. Oh no, we've had a disconnect. Chef just vanishing on the spawn point.
Alright, that is a bit unfortunate.
At the very least, there's...
yes, the players will.
Everyone's well aware that it's happened. And we'll just let Nameless get a quick knockout with the tower there, or at least as quick as it can. Looks like we've got a player there considering joining on hit point. Not a huge deal either way. Panda, Ham, and let me guess, I'm gonna say that... No, I guess wrong, not JJ. Oh, in fact, yes, we've got some super jump rallies happening here. Oh, well, I mean... And yes! Yes, the Disco Stingray! I'm only used to seeing that in Salmon Run. Thank you so much for giving me that, Gladius. I didn't know I needed it. Alright, well, we're nearly there, and the tower is gone. Alright.
So looking at these loadouts, assuming no subs happen, we will go into the next game with the same loadouts. Slight tweaks. While it is all the same main weapons from Nameless, we do see a main power-up switch from Yubel with a carbon roller deco. Maybe a few swings, some instances where they were trying to get people, didn't quite execute, so swapping to that main power-up. And we do have stealth jump from JJ.
And the other thing I've noticed, I'd made the mistake in thinking they were identical. Gladius has swapped from the Kensa Splat Charger to the Hero Charger.
Right,
so they've got that Stingray, of course, in tower control. It's a very useful tool. I feel Baller is actually quite nice in Muscle Forge tower control because of all the time it has to go through the trench, but I don't think anyone's going to argue that the Stingray isn't an excellent pick.
I'm just going to go straight in, no overlays, because there's always that risk. We have the disconnect match in between. Ooh. Ham on the foil squeezer, of course, as well, with some interesting...
Yeah, I don't think... I like bubbles on Muscle Forge. Even though Tower's one of the less bubble-friendly modes, I still think it's a good pick. And the rest of the Splat Factory sticking with their same kits. Harold Holt Center, pardon me, this is going to take some getting used to. They've done the names up and everything. I think it's reading what I see on the screen. Alright, well, looks like everyone's next behaving for now. Early snipe there from Gladius, and Neo's getting straight on the tower.
Oh wow! Nameless able to completely eviscerate Harold Holt Center.
Yeah, it's an impressive result there already. We'll see if they're able to keep it up. This is where it gets interesting for the tower. We've got Gladius coming out with a preemptive anti-spawn raid, but Panda's able to just force that off.
Great push from Panda. And now, not able to take out JJ. So unfortunately, Neo gets to stand on that tower with impunity.
Completely unmolested. Ham is able to force them off and in fact gets the splat. Murex and Chef turning up at just the right moment.
Oh, JJ getting splat on tower and Yubel turning up to support. Ham just needs to get the splat, not able to. Fortunately, the tower is moving backwards at this point.
So, as much as it costs Splat Factory more than it costs Nameless to have that happen, the fact that Nameless just bailed on the tower meant that they kind of gave up in a situation where I felt they had a chance to keep on going.
I feel Nameless didn't need to ride that whole time, they just needed to tap it to keep Splat Factory panic over the tower, but as it was, they maintained a numbers advantage through that whole time, and it hasn't taken long for them to take the tower just straight back here, and we do see armor coming up.
Yes, and we see this aggressive power of Gladius. Right now, Murex not able to retreat from mid because Gladius is just forcing so much power and that Stingray is preventing Splat Factory from getting feet on the tower. It times out anyway though. JJ now gets pursued by Ham, and Mirix is enough to distract them so that they get cleanly removed. And in the meantime, it looks like Panda has been doing solid work and removed the Splat Charger from the equation.
So we're seeing advantage move to Harold Holt Center there. We saw Nameless go 3 players down, and the middle is now green.
Yes, Harold Holt Center are in a position to make a pretty good push. Panda now getting very aggressive and smashing Gladius in the face.
Doing a great job here. And if she can take out JJ, then Harold Holt Center will be in
only
position.
Neo.
It's Neo on tower.
If
Chef just needs to get this
That
splat.
Cancerbrella is just so miserably difficult to get rid of sometimes.
Yeah, and with those torpedoes providing support there, it's really quite nasty, even in that 1v1 situation.
Nonetheless, it looks like Harold Holt Center have, they've smelled blood in the water. They're moving on the tower. 3 players on Nameless go down in pretty quick succession.
This is a good push from Harold Holt Center. So now we've got Nameless in position to pin with that baller and charger.
JJ showing us exactly why the baller is a great option on this map mode.
Yeah.
Being able to drop yourself on the tower from that tiny little height advantage and still blast people if you fall off.
What I'm liking from Nameless is I'm seeing a player sort of understand when it's their turn to be on the tower, and the other players understanding when they need to be around the tower, what role they need to take to facilitate the push. And Harold Holt's most successful push also had that. We had Panda up front, opening up the opportunity for the tower to come in without having aggressive fire on it, and that's when they were able to set their points. So good play from both teams in this strategic sense.
Yeah, they've both clearly done their homework in terms of what it is that you need to do before you can achieve anything with the objective. And they both seem to understand the map quite well. We've had situations where both teams have been caught a bit off guard by a flank from the other one, and it's done a lot of work. Obviously, Panda's been that main frontline aggressor for the Harold Holt Center.
We're seeing specials come out on the tower right now, and that Stingray nor Baller not able to get Chef. I think until the very end that was possibly the Stingray, but because of Yubel's pressure there, that was able to get
certainly, if there hadn't been that carbon roller, Chef would have been fine.
Yeah, so we do see Splat Factory. Keep calling him Splat Factory.
We're going to have to learn fast, aren't we?
Oh, it's going to take a few weeks, I think. Harold Holt Center coming in. It is a couple more syllables as well.
Just a few.
Nowhere near as many as the full name.
Alright, Mirix plays it careful there. And oh no, unfortunately Evil is able to punish on that climb. But looks like got smashed by missiles in the meantime. We're down to 2 on each side.
Yeah, and this tower pushing forward, this just slow, oppressive movement from Harold Holt Center, it might be able to work, but if they can't keep the turf behind that tower ink, as is what's happening now, then they're not going to be able to make the push. It's most likely going to have to have more time.
And we got the situation where Harold Holt have managed to score that I have seen be a winning score in some games, but they're not dealing with that. They're dealing with a much better score set by Nameless. They've got to get it all the way to 18.
And the difficulty here now, Stingray comes out. It is.
And it's like a magic trick at that point. All the work's been done in the first half of the game, and all Nameless needed to do then was to hold their resolve and to hope that Splat Factory that Harold Holt Center would end up making mistakes because they didn't really have any other options.
Yeah, we did see that Harold Holt Center would have had to break checkpoint 2 in order to win that game, and in fact get up to checkpoint 3. I think the 19 is...
Yes, I'm pretty sure the 19 is inside
checkpoint 3. So really, in order to win, they had to make sure that Nameless were unable to charge any Stingrays across that whole push, and they had to make sure that they controlled turf around the tower.
And the problem, of course, was that Gladius could just, even without the Stingray, could exert this tremendous pressure on them.
Yeah.
Obviously the final scoreboard, Gladius I think was on 3rd place in Nameless, with the 2 frontline options in double digits. But I actually feel Gladius was by far the most effective member of that team in terms of how much impact they had on limiting what the Holt Center could and could not do, where they could and couldn't go.
When you have an intimidating laser pointing straight at you, it can rattle you. And I think one of some of the effective pushes that Harold Holt Center made was actually just disrespecting the charger, pushing up into their face, deciding to distract them, maybe even getting that splat.
Yeah.
And from there, we did see some breakthroughs occur. It will be interesting to see how this plays out Rainmaker Skipper Pavilion if Nameless brings that charger again.
Well, of course, unlike Clams, you have a few alternative ways to go about the early part of the Rainmaker push in Skipper, but the late part of the push only really has one path. You've got to climb up. You've got to advance from low up to high. And really, you've got to get to that podium. There's a lot of room for it to just sort of get lost in the weeds a bit. There's a lot of areas in the map that aren't really ever going to be relevant score-wise. So if a team gets a good early lead here, like Nameless did in the previous game, and wants to try stalling afterwards, that's not necessarily going to be a bad idea. We are seeing quite a few a few more weapon changes here. I like Panda taking that Splash-O-Matic. That Inkjet is going to be really, really handy for a Rainmaker match here, especially given we have no Stingray on Paraholt's side, and Cam opting for the Dapple Duelist clearly wanted to get straight in people's faces and remove them.
It's a good approach in the opening game, I think, with Nameless taking control of that mid-area, and while everyone else meets them down where the Rainmaker is.
And then with that Ink Armor up, Cam can't just get those easy ambush splats on people, and in fact gets back into the corner and shot by Gladius, I think. JJ now leading a charge. This could be a very big push.
Here comes Neo with that Rainmaker, and it is...
We see the outside push.
To the goal. Is this going to be a knockout?
Oh wow, so close. I think we saw someone on Nameless getting splattered right at the podium as the dunk happened, and they must have been able to function as a human shield effectively.
Yeah, and we did see that Stingray just providing intense pressure that whole time. Holt Center never really able to find their feet in that match.
No, their big problem was that they ended up a bit ultimately getting spawn staggered. But there were a lot of times where one player was essentially carrying everything on their shoulders. It's very, very difficult to execute that, in those situations. Yeah, well, I mean, if we're not seeing any more Rainmaker for this set, then that's going to be, I guess, well, that's how it goes, I guess. A lightning play. Very well done by Nameless. They knew that they had the opportunity, and they didn't hesitate once they'd committed to executing.
Clam Blitz on Port Mackerel.
I like it.
We got to go straight into it. We got to, no hesitation for the teams as we go into it. It's an opportunity, I think, for Nameless to really get that win advantage. So to go 4-0 here before we go into turf would be really good for them.
Well, as we've seen in some of the earlier matches, Clams, the received wisdom from people who just play in solo queue is that it's agonizingly difficult to get any progress in it. But as we've seen in the matches so far this week, a coordinated team can do so much damage so quickly to that objective. If Nameless are able to repeat the performance that they've had up till now, if they can just set that devastating early lead or even a knockout, then at that point I think they're probably going to be feeling like they've already got it in the bag. So Splat Factory, obviously, Howard Holt Center, this is probably the highest stakes game of the set for them. They need to avoid being up against that match point so early in the set. They need to be able to just slow the game down a bit, play to their strengths.
And I think if we see the specials that they've been bringing so far, I actually would like to see a slightly more aggressive special out of them in the range.
And indeed, we see a few change-ups here. We got that ballpoint nouveau, so never mind, it's triple rain again. Triple rain and missiles.
Yeah, so one of the things that they're going to have to manage here when they make their pushes on the cram basket is thinking about how they can use maybe a couple of rains to make it quite hard for Nameless to come in. But rain is quite a passive special. You set it off and it is just there.
And there's a certain amount of map that the other team's just not going to be enjoying going through.
Yeah, but it doesn't say to that other team, you can't be here. It's just, you need to be careful of it.
Yeah, it will be expensive for you.
That's it. It's not fizzled by any means either. And we do see Chef coming in and trying to take out the charger, but
But
the
it
cover
facilitates
there.
a lightning push from Panda. The question is whether, okay, Muric's left all alone. I think he's going to go for a claw.
Yeah, so Murix does have the clams just to score a little longer, but quite costly for Harold Holt Center.
We've now got 14, 13, well, okay, so 2 power clams functionally, if we count the pity clam there on Nameless, and JJ's ready to push.
Yeah, so we're seeing Nameless's specials here are very aggressive. So that Stingray coming down that left column right now, plus this Ink that is able to isolate and take out so many players. And Nameless, while they had 3 balls there, I think they only scored 2.
Yes, they were perhaps a bit too aggressive in terms of moving in physically to occupy the space under the basket. They came in a bit too early before they cleared out enough of the Harold Holt Center players. And so it was a fairly expensive push, but nonetheless,
so
it's one
in position now to make a ball if she can pick up those clams left behind, but unfortunately meeting a lot of fire in front. So 3 players right in your face and charger above. It's just a bit too much.
The charger essentially means that you can't retreat down that down that left lane because they'll just stop you. They'll shoot. So Panda, unfortunately, was left in a situation where you either had to advance, as Panda did, or try going off to the side entirely, which has got the problem that you might just run into people that you can't see.
Alright, so we do see Ham here trying to open up this opportunity for Harold Holt Center, but the charger able to just get that hit before the ball point can get to its range. And we're seeing the Stingray come out across the map.
And now it looks like Eagle's lurking for another chance to capitalize on a push. And the barrier is open, so we're going to see potentially a huge score for Nameless here.
Yeah.
But Ham says no! They've
Great
got
play
it
by
open.
Ham, and now
that's the end of it,
Nameless
I
down
think.
3 players with only the charger to think about for the counter push. And I think they're in position.
Holt Center now being given a fresh power plan. They do have one possibly taken out there. Very unfortunate. Looks like Chef just got a little bit eager. But I still think that they've got the beginnings of a good push here.
Yeah, there's a whole 2 minutes left to go here, so if they just think about how to unsettle this cluster of Nameless in their court, they might be able to score here. So Ham moving in might be enough here to make a power plan.
Yes, not quite enough. Panda did manage that trade against Gladius, but then unfortunately for Harold Holt Center, JJ and Nia were able to turn up and just make the basket a Holt Zone. Ham now has what they need for a power plan, and they've assembled it. But Gladius is back, and that charger is oppressive.
Yeah, so Ham just keeps encountering Gladius's charger, and once they manage to get their aim on, suddenly the Cancer Umbrella turns up and provides cover. So this is good teamwork from Nameless, and really Harold Holt Center need to find a level of teamwork to combat it as well, because we're seeing they're having challenges finding the clams as a team, and they're having challenges moving in with the clams as a team. So their one big score that they got earlier was because I think eventually Panda came inside with that ball. Right now we are seeing that Stingray seeking out the balls that Harold Holt Center has. So
yes, and this is looking like another attack for Nameless now. It might do a bit more damage than the last one.
Yeah, with 3 players down on Harold Holt Center, this is going to be really hard to defend. Panda really just has to get out there. She needs to just risk her life just to make sure that Nameless can't get in their massive clams. And we do see they have another 15 clams in hand. They're not going to get them in the basket quite yet.
But with 2 power clams made, they could just get this. Like, they're in knockout territory now.
That's right. With only 20 seconds left to go, Harold Holt Center need to think about their overtime plans.
And it's very hard to be patient when you're facing down such an enormous point deficit. I feel that they were doing things quite well for a lot of that later game. And then, unfortunately, they just weren't able to create the moment that they needed.
Okay, Stingray comes out. Panda is getting ready to make a push on the left, but her movements are relatively
quite
dangerous
visible
here. And she is just going to push in because we are in overtime and we do need to get that basket range.
And unfortunately, that's just that sheer power there. The Inkjet takes out Ham.
Meanwhile, Nameless scores in order to finish the game right there and then. So that does put them up 4-0.
4-0, yes. Yeah, that's a very, very good performance from Nameless. After quite a reasonable first push, and then I feel a mistake on their second push, whether that was down to them just being stopped by Harold Holt Centre, or whether it was a miscalculation as to whether to push at all. They'd actually given Harold Holt Centre a real foothold to try and do a counter push and overtake, but they held it together. They were able to, buy time for their anchor player to get back into position, and then they just picked the Holt Centre to pieces.
Okay, Turf War. So we've got a full 3 minutes. No knockouts here. Arowana Mall. I think this is maybe in Nameless's favour. They have been bringing the range with their charger every match. And Arowana here, with its high ledges, is going to give that charger some positioning that's going to make it quite hard for Harold Holt Centre to unseat them.
Yeah. Of course, that's the thing that Gladius has proven to be terrifyingly effective so far. And why would you give up a good thing? Ham has been able to answer that quite effectively when the range brackets have aligned.
What's happening?
I really hope Ham runs ballpoint again in this match.
I think what we need to see from Harold Holt Centre is for them to keep thinking about how to unsettle Nameless's backline, and that means bringing in Ham and Panda in combination, or in fact any two of their players in combination, so that the charger can't just easily, as they were in Port Mackerel, just look down a line and go, I'll take you, I'll take you. In this match, if the Kensa Undercover comes out, we might not see quite as much synergy between that Kensa Undercover and the Charger being able to provide cover, because the Kensa, the Undercover's going to want to be in different places in this map.
Yeah, the Charger doesn't have the luxury of having I'll just keep in view of the objective and pick off people as they try to approach it. The map itself is the objective here. But of course, because of the way Arowana is structured, they could just hit the sides and spend all that time building Ray. But no, they've opted for even more range. It's the custom Hydra Splatling.
Oh boy!
And that's, wow, that double armor there on Nameless, and that bomb rush from the Neo Splash-O-Matic is going to give them a lot of painting power.
Yeah. Alright, so, we're actually seeing quite a bit of movement focus for the teams here as well.
JJ tossing out a suction rush in mid already. That's that lethal inhibitor.
Yeah, so you go with that suction rush, and now looking to sharp here the Blob Lobber and this round. Chef going down there. So good distribution here in the opening comment.
Yeah, Harold Holt Centre, however, not quite forced back into their own territory yet. The firepower is still all dropping on mid. But the big question here...
Can Chef take out Neo on the right side? No, so that undercover is in position now to just push forward.
There we go, all that sneaky's been taken. Neo elected to stay up high though, doesn't want to take the drop of no return, and instead just returns to mid to put more pressure on.
Alright, so Panda now looking to take out Gladius, so that, yes.
And boom!
So in this case, that Custom Hydra, I think, not spun up, so Panda being able to do what she does best. And here, Neo taken out by the Blob Lobber, we've got an opportunity for Harold Holt Centre to chirp up.
Yes, their own side needs a lot more attention before they can look what's happening. But the problem they've got is that they're having to deal with this obscene range. Look at that Custom Hydra Splatling just doing a bunch of fall-off painting from a fairly safe point in Turf.
And we're seeing Murix's rain, maybe not doing the best it can do in Turf War.
But here comes more rain from Chef.
More rain, so we're keeping the pressure up. Gladius and the other player there having to back off, and Murix just providing this pressure, but they're going to need to have to cross over, and crossing over in this current situation is going to be very dangerous. And unfortunately a disconnect.
Yes,
2 minutes left. And Ham, they really needed Ham.
They needed Ham so much.
This is not eligible for a free replay, and in fact I think we did see Harold Holt use their replay once already, so it's looking very tough for them. It would be an unfortunate way to close out the set.
Yes, it would be. One minor correction, the replay they had was a free one actually.
Oh, it was
on the spawn pad.
On the spawn pad, sorry.
So if this one had fallen a little bit earlier, they absolutely would have been eligible for a fresh go.
Yeah, sorry.
Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Right now they're giving it all their all. It would have been up to Nameless to offer the replay anyway, so they might as well get out there and do their best. So Murex is actually pulling Gladius back into the other side of the map, and while normally this might look like an overextension, this type of desperation play keeps two players busy and in completely purple turf, while maybe the rest of the team might be able to get a chance. It's desperation play. You are a player down. It could have worked if they had that one more player. Yeah,
of course. When you end up with only 3 players against 4, you've got to get creative. If you try the kind of strategies that that are proven to work when you have 4 players, they're just going to blow up in your face because often they depend upon resources you simply don't have access to. So, a valiant effort from the Harold Holt Centre there. Very disappointing that they didn't get a chance to go out on their own terms.
Yeah, we do see a 5-0 here, and if we look at these score lines, some of them look a bit unbalanced. I think mostly Nameless had an upper hand here, but I think the player skill was not that far apart. What I would like to see from Harold Holt Centre next time is maybe one more aggressive special on their team. If they keep bringing the passive reins, I don't think that asserts enough pressure on the other team.
Yeah, I agree there. And even something like changing that ballpoint Nuvo over to the Inkjet.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, especially in our lower divisions, might be a bit intimidated by picking up an Inkjet special because it's another thing to master. It's not like a rain where you can just throw it out. But for a lot of teams and players, it can definitely pay off. I haven't gone through that transition, but you've been learning Inkjet.
Oh, I've mostly been stacking main power and relying on 2 shots. So,
there you go. Yeah.
No, you can absolutely tell when someone's become more confident with the Inkjet because they just don't even bother running main power at all. They just hit people right away.
Yeah, special power. Yeah.
Yeah, special power. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, special power gives you a few. It gives you a longer time in the air as well. So, great play from Nameless there. They're looking pretty tough down in Div 5, but the problem is that we had tough teams all through. I think when we were trying to do the division placements for this season, we saw how many teams had improved so much. And the actual standard of play, like what is Division 6, or maybe Division 6 has some of our newer teams, but what is Division 5 in this season is a higher standard of play than it was in last season. I
agree. I don't think you can look at any of the divisions in the previous season, look at the play they were producing and directly compare them to what we're seeing now. Even Division 1, I've been really impressed at what we've seen. Like, not to throw any shade on where any of those teams were at back in Season 2 or even Season 1, but I feel they're playing a different game now.
Yeah. So I think we're wrapping up here. Thank you very much to the teams for letting us watch your match. Is there another match that we might be able to hop into?
There is, not quite yet. Well, we could. I think Goizord is recording Catastrophe versus Prismatic right now, so I don't think we should raid them. We should.
Let them keep going,
because that's just going to spoil the end for when it gets shown properly.
Yep.
We do, however, have X-Garbage and Hikari due to play in about 25 minutes.
25 minutes. So maybe we'll leave stream and we'll have a nice chat. Maybe we can just take a quick break, and then we'll try and line up to show you that match.
Yes, well, we'll confirm with them that they're okay for it, but I expect they'll be fine with getting streamed. I think it will actually. I think they played each other head to head in one of the seeding tournaments.
I think this was in fact one of the matches that we streamed in one of the seeding tournaments, and Hikari I think came out 4-0 or 3-1. It was an interesting set, and I don't think there was as much dominance from Hikari as you would expect from a 4-0 result. And we did see X-Garbage had some disconnect issues as well. So this is an interesting one to come up as week 1. I would have actually liked to maybe let that one simmer for a little while.
Be a grudge match for the final week.
And be a grudge match for a little bit later, because I think one of the things that might throw X-Garbage off is adapting to playing against teams from Australia. So they are a Malaysian team mostly, I think.
Malaysian, I think entirely.
And we did see in their seeding tournament match against Hikari, we saw some level of it looked like discomfort with just dealing with that slight bit more latency that you have playing against teams cross-continent. So I'd like to see how maybe they'll approach that this time. They might be in a better mindset too. Last time they were scrambling to get into the game.
Yes, I think it was they had to beat the clock in order to actually, in order to be there.
Yeah, and we should probably just make sure the teams are ready to go. We'll be muting, I think, for the next 20 minutes, or possibly even going offline. But we hope to see you back soon for X Garbage versus Hikari.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. Bye for now.
See ya.